And tonight on the Daily Wrap. And then there were 15. Yes, we'll tell you who the latest GOP hopeful is dropping out of the race tonight. Dr. Ben Carson is under fire for comments he made about a possible Muslim president. And Donald Trump has new competition after last week's debate. This is the Daily Wrap, live from New York City. And welcome to the show, everybody. I'm Joe Concha. My co-host Rick Unger is out tonight. Somebody won another Emmy and I guess couldn't get back from California in time. So instead we have conservative commentator and filmmaker Dennis Michael Lynch is here tonight. Your first appearance on the Wrap, probably your last by the time you get through with us.
It's really Nomi that's bothering me already.
The girl,
we haven't even started.
The girl to your right, the tension is already there. She's the founder and executive director of the Accountability Project, and also she's ready for Biden. Maybe that's where all that tension is coming from. Nomi Konst is here in her reporter jacket, and finally, he's the editor of thewisdomdaily.com, a Washington Post contributor, and a former Bears fan after the shellacking that our team took this weekend. Mr. Hirschfield is back.
Still a Bears fan, always a Bears fan.
Okay, very good. You're very loyal. Yes, 48-23 at home, really, guys. Anyway, Bill Tucker will be joining us a little bit later in the show. Speaking of Emmy winners, all right, let's get right to the Daily Download. He was a former GOP frontrunner. His name is Scott Walker, and he is now dropping out of the presidential race. According to campaign sources, the reason he's calling it quits is because of money, or lack thereof. Although early on he showed some promise, led in Iowa by double digits, over the past 2 months, he has dropped to almost
0.0.
That was not Walker at the end of that clip, but of course the late John Belushi. Anyway, we will be talking in depth a little later about the race and Walker dropping out, guys. What is your initial reaction?
You know, I was in Iowa when he gave his first speech there, the Iowa Freedom Summit, and you would have thought that he was Bon Jovi. Yeah, really? I mean, people just were in love with him, screaming up and down. I was trying to say, sit down, Donald Trump has to go soon. And no, they just loved him. And I think what you're seeing with somebody like Governor Walker, who, by the way, is a great governor, right? If you ask people in Wisconsin, he's won 3 elections. I think he is a perfect example of the fact that America wants a change, and that's why you see Trump, that's why you see Carson, and you see Fiorina skyrocketing.
The outsiders ruling the day. You have to wonder if Trump never jumped in, if Walker would still be in the race. Probably, right? Probably still reading Iowa. I mean, this is the Trump effect through and through. Establishment candidates and now 2 governors gone, Nomi.
You're absolutely right about the establishment part, and I actually think that, you know, the Scott Walker shtick is it's a small shtick, and it didn't last very long.
I wouldn't bring that whole aspect into the whole thing.
No, I mean...
You're talking verbally. Okay.
No, his anti-union thing can only go so far. He really doesn't have any... Like Trump, there's not a lot more to him, so it wouldn't last very long. He's not a skilled politician. Yes, he may have won 3 elections, but he wasn't ready for prime time. The bigger thing here is this is an election not just about anti-establishment politics. It's about income inequality. And when he is literally a candidate that was created by special interests and the Koch brothers and pretty much the Republican libertarian establishment that wants lower taxes, that doesn't sit well with the populist voters. It might in the beginning, but once the debates start to happen, which is very clear on stage.
Brad, I think in the end this was a personality contest. And Scott Walker simply did not have the electric personality of a Trump, of a Fiorina, of some of the other candidates that are out there. Local level, Wisconsin, he's fine. National, in the debates, he simply disappeared.
No, I think that's right. I don't think it was a shtick at all. I think he actually took on special interests, and that was a product of special interests, including the unions, and he did a very good job doing it. Whether he governed the state well or not, sometimes the numbers he brings are not exactly accurate. But I think income inequality is actually, ironically, one of the things the Koch brothers are most concerned with. The 2 issues that people don't know the Koch brothers are very concerned with are income inequality and massive imprisonment and incarceration in this country. These are real issues for them. I think, Joe, you're 100% right. The issue was he didn't have the personality. What plays in Madison doesn't play for the rest of the country.
Okay, well, who will be the next to go is my next question before we leave this segment. All right, so we have Perry, who was a front runner in 2012. We have Walker, who was a front runner in 2016. I'm taking Jim Gilmore out of this equation.
That's fair.
Oh, poor Gilmore.
Who will be the next to go, and is the kiddie table finally going to be retired as a result?
I think what I'd like to see is Bush leave. I think everybody would like to see Bush leave, whether you're on the red or the blue side.
Not quite at 0.0, but he is at 6% in some polls.
But ultimately, I think you're going to start to see a lot of people drop off. More importantly for me is who is really going to rise? Can Donald Trump keep that status that he has, or is Fiorina going to start tugging down on him? I think that if Kim Kardashian was to actually jump into the race, she may actually do well because America is just so tired of politicians.
Wouldn't it be interesting because Kanye's running in 2020, so the bridge with the Kardashian
sort of
family.
Like Bill and Hillary.
There you go.
Sort of
Yeah, Bill
like
Hillary.
Hillary.
Or she'll be his vice president.
Exactly.
And you're going to lead his pack, right?
Clearly.
Yes. Quickly, who's the next to go? Pick a name,
Pataki.
any name.
Pataki.
Pataki is done next. Okay, 3-term governor.
I would say Huckabee or Paul are the next two to drop. 1-2.
I hope Huckabee isn't going to drop.
It's interesting that you say Paul because apparently there was a Michigan straw poll that no one really heard about, and Paul won it going away. And Trump finished like 9th. So Michigan is a big problem for Donald Trump apparently.
I don't think he's sweating that one right now.
Probably not. Probably not. Okay. Anyway, Donald Trump made headlines last week when he decided not to correct a guy who sounded like Peter Griffin in the crowd, who called President Obama a Muslim while at a town hall event in New Hampshire. Now, Ben Carson is getting in some hot water because of this.
Should a president's faith matter? Should your faith matter to voters?
Well, I guess it depends on what that faith is. If it's inconsistent with the values and principles of America, then of course it should matter. But if it fits within the realm of America and consistent with the Constitution, no problem.
So do you believe that Islam is consistent with the Constitution?
No, I don't. I do not. I would not advocate that we put a Muslim in charge of this nation. I absolutely would not agree with that.
And then on a quiet Sunday afternoon, Twitter literally broke. So Carson explained his point further with TheHill.com, saying, and we quote, "I do not believe Sharia is consistent with the Constitution of this country. Muslims feel that their religion is very much a part of your public life and what you do as a public official, and that's inconsistent with our principles and our Constitution." Let me go to you. I thought this was an utterly stupid comment, and I wrote it in a column after I first heard it, and then I thought about it more, and it kind of made some sense. Talk some sense back to me.
It doesn't make sense. What he did do, he said a stupid thing that covers some possible insight. But in response to him, I have 2 words, Kim Davis. She also is a person of faith whose faith was not consistent with the Constitution or the demands that were upon her. It's not a function of any one particular religion. Actually, his first answer was great. You can't have a faith, whether it's any particular religion or no faith at all, that's inconsistent with the Constitution and lead this country. Where he is correct is that statistically and in reality, the largest community of any faithful that have a kind of triumphalist, get rid of America approach right now based on their faith commitments happen to be Muslims. That doesn't mean a Muslim can't be a president. It does mean we have to pay attention to radical Islam. It's a real threat.
Dennis, Article 6, paragraph 3 says there are no religious tests, but did Carson have a point that if a Muslim were to be a president, and by the way, I think it's a stupid question because a Muslim will never become president of this country. And I bring about my media expertise here for a moment. Look at Al Jazeera English for a moment, America. No one watches it because I just can never see a Muslim rising above everything that happened in 9/11 and everything else and becoming president of this country. It's too much of a hypothetical. All that said, did he have a point?
First of all, one of the big problems I have is that the country is in such a bad place. And instead of asking questions like, how are you going to lower taxes? How are you going to create more jobs? How are you going to kill ISIS? What he does is he asks these gotcha questions. But ultimately, I give him an A for being honest. Right. That's what the American people want.
Before you answer, Dennis makes an excellent point that during the last CNN debate, Jake Tapper has 3 hours to bring up economy, jobs, and it never comes up.
Well,
I'm getting, what would your nickname be if you were the president? What would
But they framed it as a foreign policy debate, and so the primary focus of that debate was foreign policy. I mean, there are how many debates?
Even the first debate, Fox, I didn't hear a lot about the economy or jobs or nothing. It's all these, I don't know if I call them gotcha questions, but I call them questions that don't affect my life, that are going to change things for the better.
Absolutely.
Last 20 seconds.
Income inequality. That's it. That's all we should be talking about right now. And that's the only area of America right now where we're really struggling. And there's been a lot of research over this past 6 months. Country's doing better than ever, except for income inequality.
Dennis, last word, 5 seconds, then we have to say farewell.
Where did you find her?
We're ready for Biden, apparently.
Oh, my goodness. We have so many problems.
Like
okay,
what?
we ended speechless. That's it. Okay. What do you make of Ben Carson's comments? Go to newsmaxtv.com/comments and let us know. Now, Scott Walker has dropped out of the race, he said. We want to know who your pick is for 2016. Go to newsmaxpolls.com. Cast your vote. Coming up next, Hillary Clinton blamed for President Obama's birther issue.